Sarah Silverman's making some serious headlines. She was on Howard Stern's show, and Howard Stern is widely known and respected as one of the best interviewers out there. It might not be your cup of tea, but he gets people to talk about things. And Sarah Silverman divulged some serious information, and it was about her close friend, the embattled Louis C.K., and she talked about how when they were coming up in the comic game, he would pleasure himself in front of her. And she acknowledged that she consented to it. She said she was okay with it. But there are other times she'd be like, no, that's gross. He would stop, and then she'd say, let's go grab pizza. So they had this very casual relationship, one that she allowed him to behave like this. And she expressed that maybe that trouble that he's gotten in with other women, exposing himself to them, maybe it was due to the level of comfort that she shared with, that they shared.
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff. So then she begged the question, she asked further, she said, I don't know. I love Louis C.K. I know the man he is. I love the man he is. But he's done some very bad things. So she asked, quite frankly, to Howard Stern, what should I do? Should I still support this guy? Should I stop loving him for what he's done? Because it is a very bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, clearly she's conflicted, and that's certainly a tough position to be in. We discussed that we saw it with Matt Lauer and his co-host, the people that work with him every day. They felt differently, and of course, we got all the allegations. So it's like two sides to this person. I think when you're judging a person, for me, no sin is greater than the other, but also judging the whole person, I would be sticking by my friend as well.
Yeah, I think when you don't know the person, it's easy to say, like, oh, who would be friends with that person?
Yeah.
How could you continue a relationship with them? And then you have a friend who's done something wrong and you want to stick by them. That's the time where they need those positive influences in their life. I had a friend in college who got in trouble with the law, and it was never a question in my mind to just abandon her as a friend. It was like, no, we'll come and we'll pick you up and we'll figure this out, because clearly, I mean, she felt worse than anyone. Clearly, like, she needs people in her life that are going to help her, right?
Yeah,
or he.
At the end of the day, I guess perception's in the eye of the beholder. So what she perceived in her interaction with Louis C.K. was consent was a heavy thing there. Like, it was present. She acknowledged, yes, you can do this. And when she said no, it was respected. So this whole thing, when we heard this news, like, Louis C.K. did what with women? Well, those women weren't expecting that. This was something that, again, consent was there when it came to Sarah Silverman. So Sarah hasn't seen the horrors that maybe other women experience. And to me, a man who's raising a young child, a young boy in this world, I would advise him, hey, you might be dating a girl, you might have gone on a few dates with her, you might begin to get intimate, it might seem natural, but always ask. Ask for that consent. It might seem awkward because I know she likes me, I like her. It's moved very slow and we're into that intimacy stage. But yet still, I would say, are you okay with what's going on? Is this okay? Take a pause back to allow to know for sure.
I think that's where this conversation is at, because we weren't there, so we really can't judge her situation or any of the other situations with Louis C.K., all of the allegations that are out there against him. But we do know this opens up a bigger conversation for consent and the importance of women speaking up and being honest about what they want and men listening to that.
Yeah, absolutely. In no way does this vindicate Louis C.K. at all. This is just one of his friends saying, I saw this behavior, I allowed this behavior. It's still wrong, without question, what he's done with women outside of that.
Very different than how I hang out with my friends.
Yeah, exactly. Very different, right? Well, on the latest Real Housewives of Orange County, Shannon was confronted by her co-stars, and the conversation escalated very quickly as they piled on her. Well, I guess that's up for debate. Take a look.
I resent you saying I cry every night. But if you get on a medication that evens you out, I'm not going to medication. I'm not doing that.
It will help. I had to do it myself. It will help.
I'm not doing it. It might help you from not. Oh my God. Like, are you serious now? You're going to do a goddamn straight jacket intervention right now? Are you kidding me?
Okay, well, for one, Kelly is pretty erratic with her own behavior, the one in the blue dress who's telling her she needs medicine. But it begs a bigger question. When is it okay to confront your friend with something like that?
Definitely not in front of everyone else where it feels like they're literally like ganging up on you. I think that you have to be super gentle with a friend that you think needs help, you know, with their mental health. Like, you have to be, no one wants to hear, you should do this, you should do that. Like, you have to ask them questions. Say, would you ever consider taking medication? Probably in private, probably not in front of everyone, and you're all yelling at each other, right? So it's delicate. I think you have to be really gentle with it.
I think it's also communication 101. one. Look how riled up she is. She's not in the position to listen and take advice from you.
I never thought
and
of
to
that.
make sense. Yeah, she's not in that position. Like, everyone's emotions are way too high to get any kind of progress made in a situation like that.
It also feels like a very deep, not accusation, but a diagnosis from friends who are doctors. At the end of the day, like, look, this is a woman who's going through a lot of things right now. She's going through a divorce with her husband. It's been very publicized. I mean, imagine your relationship. You've been married for X amount of years. You've raised a family together. You built a life, and it all crumbles, and he's seeing a younger woman. That's all playing out in the public. Yes, she signed up for it, but that doesn't mean she's going to handle it in the most proper fashion.
Or just take a pill and be okay.
Yeah, she's been battling publicly weight that's gone up and down. I just think this is one of the perils of reality TV. Everybody wants to be a reality TV star, and then when you're in front of it, and then when you're rising this way, well, it's fun. But when stuff starts dipping this way, you get exposed with everything going on, and I do feel bad for Shannon in this regard. It's
that was a tough situation.
Very tough to watch, too, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine not reacting that similar way. The latest edition of Red Table Talk, Jada Pinkett's show, which is making headlines every time she pops up on screen. She's really getting those headlines now because her husband, megastar Will Smith, joined the show and revealed some truth behind their relationship and how they fight in their relationship. Take a listen.
Because you can never pull it back. And that was one of the things we learned really early.
We learned
you
that.
Apologize 1,000 times. You never get it back. And you get addicted to it also.
Yeah. And that
You get addicted. Like
if you keep on doing it.
Once you call somebody a couple times,
It's real easy
it's
to
real
repeat
easy
it.
to repeat it, you know?
and
I love this. He was saying
so
basically they had to draw the line in their relationship. And once they drew that line, they never crossed it. He was basically saying once you call someone out of their name, you get used to doing that. Like it sends a message that you're okay. It's a learned behavior. It becomes a habit. And he's like, that was a line we could not cross. And that's something that I have in my relationship. Like, we do not curse at each other. We, of course, are not putting hands on each other. And I think you have to set those boundaries for yourself and for your relationship.
And those are just the rules that you've laid out in terms of confrontation that you share with yourself.
I feel like we have a lot of unspoken rules. I can't think of any that we're like, this is our rule, but I know for sure we try not to say things that we don't mean just to hurt the other person. Like, we don't say things in the moment that we wouldn't say after the fight. You know, we try to, we actually have pretty like level-headed discussions, and that's just kind of like the
fighting
people that we are.
healthy.
But yeah, not trying to hurt the other person.
Yeah, our big thing is no name calling. We try not to raise our voice. Sometimes you can't control that. But resolution's big in our household. If we have a debate, if it's at 9 a.m., if it's at 2 p.m., if it's at 7 p.m., we're not going to bed angry. So we have to resolve whatever happens that night before we lay down.
That's
y'all
so
will stay
hard
up all
to do.
night. Look at
See,
y'all
she
will
always
stay up
gets
all
on me about
night.
this one.
Because I think I'm like, on my schedule, I only got like 4.5 hours of sleep last night, and I only get 5 hours. And wait till you add kids into the situation. I just, that's a hard one for me.
It's not easy. I hate it, to be honest.
I might need a break though. Like, sometimes it depends on the couple, of course, but you have to walk away and get away from each other. Like, I might not be able to stay here and hash this out because I can't do it lovingly. Like, I might have to step away.
But I think what Will Smith's saying and what we've all echoed here at the table is there's got to be an underlying respect.
Respect.
You know, you're not always going to get along.
Yes.
You're not always going to see eye to eye, but you can't call somebody outside of their name.
Respect is huge.
You definitely can't put your hands on the other person. And you just don't want to get into name calling because at that point it becomes personal. It's not about what you're arguing about. It becomes demeaning, and then you find some baggage in a relationship. Like Will's saying, if you continue to call somebody outside their name, you get comfortable with it, then it's abuse. And that's when it becomes a dangerous area of then that person that you're with only knows himself as this derogatory term. What kind of loving, lifting up relationship is that?
I also think like seeing the way that someone fights really for me is like a big part of how I determine if I can be with that person long term, right? I've been in relationships where the fighting wasn't so nice before, and it's like you have to, that's a part of deciding if they're a good person to be with.
Let me ask you this. Do you guys,
no one wants to talk about it, but it is.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Do you guys fight dirty? Be honest.
No.
Never.
No.
You don't ever bring back something that's from like maybe a couple months ago.
Okay,
like,
all women do that.
Okay, so
I don't do that.
Every woman does that.
I don't mean like pushing them or calling them names. I mean, that's calculated fighting.
So do you set a captain? Is it like after 5 years, the rest of it gets the statute of limitations? You gotta throw it out?
You can't be arguing about, leaving shoes out and then go, and that woman that you looked at the club 2 years ago.
You gotta have it be related as part of the point you're trying to make.
That's so funny, yeah.